A little double audio from you.
Yes.
Is that just me?
I think it was
Was
coming
coming
from
from
Orit.
Ori.
Yes, it is. Orit, I'm muting you. Hiya. What's new with you? Welcome to another. In this one, we are in the collaborative work group, collab work group number 2, as I'm forcing people to help me with content creation. So we were gabbing a little bit pre-airtime about forthcoming developments. Our beloved associate Karen does want to do a share with us, which would be on Monday evenings. And I think it's going to focus on the ascension concept. And I think there's a lot to unpack in that because I, for one, barely even understand what it means, you know? And she and I were talking about, yeah, what does it mean? You know, so you ascend. Are you still in this physical body, in this physical plane, visible to the people that you used to be visible to? You know, did you turn into some being somewhere else? You know, what does all this mean? So I think that's a big topic, and the idea of having a group that could interact and talk about topics of, you know, Karen's expertise with angel energy clearing and healing, as well as ascension topics, I think could be great. What do you think? Satvananda?
Well, that's another very controversial subject. For some people, like in the Hermetic tradition, the ascension is actually taking place in the mind chemically, not so much a physical thing like you see in the New Age movements. But in the corporatized kind of New Age governmental secret, not so secret agenda, they're talking about this kind of like a bifurcation of timelines, and there's a lot of different stuff, and I've attempted to find hardcore evidence as I normally do, and I have not been able to find any other than the physical quickening of the rotational velocity of Earth and many different things like this, which do kind of point towards a speeding up. But this idea of ascension, you know, as it's being presented to us in the New Age groups available on the DoD internet or the FBI Facebook, I have a hard time finding experimental evidence for that stuff. And a lot of the proponents of this mindset, I will ask directly for, experimental evidence, to which they have none. Everything, it's all faith based. It's all faith based. That's why I spend so much of my time, especially on my website, documenting hardcore scientific objective reasoning that can be both um, substantiating ancient perspectives and possibly substantiating new age perspectives, but it's very tough to parse through these ideas because people, I find quite often, it's kind of like a out of the frying pan into the fire kind of situation. Okay, they were able to get out of the CNNs and the NPRs and the religious indoctrination, and yet they're jumping right back into a new age style religion in which there's all these loosely defined terminologies like ascension. What is it? Where are we going? What is it really? And then you have kind of the technocracy component of it. And this is normally I only go over this in my private sessions, but the what there's been a lot of talk for many decades, especially in these think tank projects like the DoD, about like the uploading of a human consciousness into this, I guess you could call it matrix. And so they are very successful with this technique, so much so that it would be hard for us to recognize it happening to us. And so for that kind of dynamic, they could simply just call it ascension. And then all of these people in the new age, DoD, Facebook, FBI, internet, are going to be accepting this type of matrix upload, thinking that it's an ascension type of protocol. There is unquestionably this expansion of human awareness that is being mitigated by things like the corona, by things like the new age movement, hippies, hypernormalized drug use, caffeine, all kinds of this stuff. It's trying to mitigate, the manifestation coefficient in the congregation of our people. So yeah, this is a very deep, very big subject that can get very triggering very quickly, depending on the level of faith-based programming that our particular people are consuming or not consuming. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Holy cow. I love it. I always love your perspective on it. Um,
Are you still getting an echo now?
No, it sounds good on my end at
I
least.
don't know. Do I sound echoey?
Me, not to me, but
I think we're okay for the moment.
all right. The only thing I would maybe caution about
Yeah.
what you said, Satwananda, is that we know now that science has been lying to us for eons. So I don't know that looking for scientific proof will help in any way. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But as far as I'm concerned, when we're mulling over the papers in the Western scientific mindset, there are definitely two distinct groups putting forth material. One of, at least in my opinion, one of them are hardcore scientists, real scientists without any type of agenda. And then the other group are these types of agenda driven perspectives. So I find when I'm doing my research in the medical literature, I could easily, very quickly tell who is who and which is which. And this is a very important part of what I think we should all be able to do, because the medical literature, yeah, the Western ethnocentric perspective does use the manipulation of statistics and data to control the hearts and minds of people. But at the same time, these scientific resources, many of them are free, you know. And like for instance, the National Library of Medicine. I mean, there are a number of very profound articles available to everybody for free with an internet connection, and yeah, it's just it's really easy for, I guess, like the baby in the bathwater type of fallacy. So it's definitely a good idea to be aware of that stuff. But at the same time, I just think that these papers do help humans come to terms with a lot of this kind of traditional perspectives. Like, for instance, I use these scientific papers to talk about the nuts and bolts of some of these ancient hermetic principles, or the emerald tablets, or these types of perspectives that it seems like they're more approachable with some of these medical entries. But yeah, it's definitely a case by case basis. So I definitely see what Orit is talking about there. But I would also, at least from the previous topic regarding ascension, I have been looking for hardcore evidence of this type of ascension mindset, or the bifurcation of timelines, or so-called moving to a new timeline. There's a lot of this type of new age jargon that I have desperately tried to find hardcore evidence of. So if anybody ever finds anything like that, please feel free to share it with me, because I've been trying to write papers on this topic for a long time.
Well, indeed, it's tricky topics in terms of grounded data. We've got a hard enough time with near-death experiences. I don't know that NDEs have a lot of measurable science-y data, but the user experience stories are phenomenal and voluminous. But bringing it back to our old friend topic of well, I could go into we'll just say possession / attachment / parasitic behaviors. What's the grounded science on that stuff, for instance?
Well, as far as the NDE and the past life regression and all kinds of stuff, there are a lot of different hypnotherapy works, hardcore, scientific materials written by doctors, some of whom are my friends. You know, for instance, documenting the pre-incarnation of children as they're being flushed down the toilet after a failed conception. They have these memories that seem unbelievable to us, and yet they're occurring so frequently and in so many different parts of the world that they cannot be denied, especially with this NDE type of perspective, where the body of a human has literally been measured, and you can literally see the weight, the weight of the soul leaving the body. I mean, this research has been done and it's out there. And the NDE, that's a very big topic as well. And that has also been well documented by many doctors and scientists throughout the world. And of course, it's always being kind of trying to mitigate it, I guess, by the ethnocentric mindset. It's telling us, oh, well, this is, pseudoscience or what have you. As far as the possession, um, humans, the way humans are, I find it's hard to describe to a human how we actually are, right? Because we take so many things for granted, being incarnation or being incarnated. For instance, just intuition. We have intuition, And we use it so frequently that many people will not even recognize it being something magical, but not everybody has intuition. Not every organism that is on Earth can, um, confer with the fabric of the universe like our minds do. And this is another big topic, but um, something I write a lot about in my papers, at least the scientific foundation for things like micropossession and some of the topics we've talked about in previous sessions. Humans, there's this thing called, um, I don't know what they call it. It's like an entrainment paradox, or it's this tendency for physical objects to synchronize. They call it spontaneous synchronization. Like, for instance, if you have 100 metronomes, like playing music, you click the metronome, it goes tick, 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 tick. So if you click a bunch of metronomes, eventually they will all synchronize and be clicking at one as one. And Western's ethnocentric mindset in the scientific agenda cannot come to terms with this type of phenomena, but it's very concrete and physics oriented, and I write about it in my paper. I think it's the the article is called "The Human Brain: A Piezoelectric Microcrystalline Transducing Magnetometer" on my website savananda.org. So there's always a physical basis for all of this stuff, as hard as it might be to comprehend. And that's why I try to remind everyone that we do take a lot of things for granted. Like, we do so much magical stuff that just seems regular to us. We don't even really regard it as such. And when we take a step back, in terms of all of these difficult topics that we're always broaching here together, I think, or I hope, that more people can come to comprehend just how magical we are, and that's why I say we are the angels that have been talked about in these old books, and we've just lost our memories. But the way our consciousness works with all of these physical interactions in the universe, or what have you, at least for me, that's a big part of the scientific foundation for the reality that we're living in, just like the NDEs or the children who remember these impossible memories from our perspective, being flushed down the toilet, or seeing mommy, being going down the drain, seeing mommy in the shower, soaping up with her whatever, I mean, these experiences that the children have are breathtaking. So thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for being here from Northern California once again. You said you're going to be in NorCal for about 6 months. Do I remember that right?
Or somewhere around 8 months, maybe. It depends on how long it takes to make my client better.
Right. Blessings to you both. How long have...
Can I mention something
Yeah.
about NDEs?
Please,
So,
please, thanks.
Satvananda, you were talking about NDEs being documented in science, which I agree. They're totally there with all the stories and the weight proof and all of that. And then many people who have went through that experience are becoming channelers who talk about ascension. Right? So that's interesting, right? Ascension, you can't find any proof for it in the science, but then there are those NDE people who are proven in science who talk about the ascension. So that's just interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about ascension, at least from my perspective. I just have a hard time believing it, because yeah, I mean, for instance, I'm not so comfortable with all the channelers either. Like when I'm on the other side, deep in my meditations, experiencing the other entities who may or may not be of benefit to us, regardless of what we think. I realize that there are two types of entities: those who are getting us to go down a path of some sort of conduct, and then there are those who are simply just holding space, waiting for us to kind of experience a deeper level of ourselves. And this is kind of a tough topic. And just like what I shared previously, you have the devil and the angel. Both of those entities that we are very familiar with in the old cartoons, they're both trying to get you to do something. One of them, it might be a good thing for you, or we think it's a good thing, but they're still trying to get you to do certain things. And these channels, for instance, like the law of one, a lot of people think that these channels are being facilitated by advanced type of interface technology that interfaces with our consciousness, like from the CIA or Mossad or what have you. So when we're, at least for me, when I'm looking at all of this material that's being shoved down our throats, essentially, in the new age mindset, that gives me a lot of kind of it causes me to really study what is being put forth, and it causes me to also study, there is this large contingent of new age people who are absolutely, um I mean, they're talking about cloud ships, you know I mean, pretty wild stuff, that has no basis that I could see, and these different types of alien technologies. Why now? Why are they coming now? Why not previously? If they were here previously, why didn't it work? You know, and to me, I just always try to maintain this level of awareness in talking about these savior complexes, like the Pleiadian mission, or the Blue Avians, or the Corey Goods, being representative of these, like, Ashtar Command, and like these very fanciful type of ideas that are very appealing, and it's kind of getting back into that same mindset that we were talking about, like out of the frying pan into the fire. We're leaving all of these old type of religious mindsets, and we're just jumping right back in. Like all these Corey Good people, who follow Corey Good and all of that Blue Avian and all of this type of stuff, they defend these ideas violently, just like the old Christians, and yeah. So of course, I would, in a perfect world, I would love to accommodate all of these belief systems, but then at the same time, especially with the channelers, like Bashar, I mean, I've done a lot of research with these types of people, and I just do not see anything that I can, really trust. At least that's how it feels for me. And especially like this ascension paradigm, like there's no question that the consciousness of humans is undergoing this massive expansion. Can you call that ascension? Why do we call it ascension? Where does the word ascension come from? The people who are doing all of this channeling, like from the Pleiadian group, or I'm seeing a lot of my own friends who will literally tell me that they're on the high Pleiadian council of X, Y, and Z galactic, you know, I don't know, it just makes me worried, that's all.
I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just being curious. But one of the answers that I've heard for why they have not intervened until now, if they're here or we're here, is that this is the only planet of free will in the universe. So
Yeah,
that's one
yeah,
of the answers that I'm getting from those people.
yeah, and this is another point of contention for me, they talk a lot about this free will, and, because I follow all this stuff, with an open mind, even though I don't necessarily agree with it, I look for hardcore evidence to actually help them, you know? And this free will type of idea, I see it everywhere on the DoD internet. Oh, they have to tell us what they're doing, and because of the free will component. So they have to explain to us why and how they're enslaving us, and then it makes it okay because of this free will thing, But to me, it's just
It's more about the karma, though. They have to tell us because of karma. Otherwise,
well,
they will be trapped in karma. That's the explanation that I heard.
yes,
And again, I
yes.
don't disagree with you. I'm just showing,
No, no, I
the
appreciate
other
it.
angles of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I need this, I need this from you because my mind works the way it does, so I constantly need this input to kind of keep me back on track. So I appreciate it definitely. But yeah, the free will and the karma, karma, I mean, these are huge topics, but karma has been used as a control structure, control mechanism, just like in religion, oh, if you're a good little boy, you're going to go to heaven, right? But then meanwhile, people are
Agree.
using, yeah, people are using these types of ideas to maintain this control structure, this matrix control structure. And it's the same thing with this free will. Okay, if we all have free will. Okay, this is the only planet in the universe with free will. Well, how do we know that? A lot of people on the DoD internet are telling us, but how do we actually know that? What planets have you guys been on? What planets have we all been on together? How can we verify this information? And because a lot of this stuff sounds really good, just like religion, religion is very appealing. You know, it gives us a way to kind of manage the level of suffering that we're feeling. Oh, but it's all going to be better in the better place once we go to heaven, once we pay the tithings or what have you. And humans,
Yeah, religion sounds good to the lazy-minded, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's, religion, what we call religion is like a huge gradient, at least for me, on one side, you have, the classical people who talk about hell and karma and being a good little boy. But then on the other end of the spectrum are these kind of new age DoD type of perspectives, the blue avians coming down to save us. But with free will, I love talking about this type of stuff because these type of ineffable topics that are hard to quantify or justify, at least for me, they kind of force us because of the nature of the topics themselves, they force us to really analyze the terminology, or at least that's what happens to me. So when we're talking about free will, okay, they're saying this is the only planet that has free will. Okay, how do we know that? Are we just taking it for granted, or are we just accept this for no reason? It sounds really great, but why do we really believe that? For instance, if a human is living on Earth in Compton, California, in the ghettos, being a product of intergenerational poverty, does that person have free will? They're inserted into a specific strata of society, and the way that the matrix is constructed is all about reducing our level of decision making, the number of decisions possible that we can access. So, okay, we're always talking about free will, but does that type of person, or any type of person for that matter, do they really have free will? You know? And for me, the answer is no, because are you going to get addicted to drugs? Are you addicted to caffeine? Are you addicted to money? Are you going to get trapped in prison? Do you fall in love, but now your wife takes all your money in a divorce? I mean, there's all of these different aspects that destroy our free will, or essentially that indicate to me that we don't have free will, because of the limited number of choices that we do have access to. In terms of free will, for me, truly having free will requires the thinker, at least for me, to be somewhat transcendent of the limited thought forms or decision makings, permutations, to actually have free will. So, like, for instance, none of us, at least, well, this is my perspective, but very few of us have free will, in my perspective, because of this financial component. And that's why the financial component is so important, and why everybody gets inculcated or indoctrinated into this financial kind of mindset. Because when I'm looking around in the society, the people who appear to have the most free will, at least to me, are homeless people or people living in the jungles. They don't have a limited number of possible decision making outcomes based on the stratification of where their incarnation was placed. And this is a very, very deep topic, super advanced topic, and I don't know if I'm doing a good enough job talking about it, but I'll do my best. So I hope that answers your question.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, as always. Um, do you have an out time? Do you need to get going shortly, or how you doing there? Satvananda.
No, I'm okay. Yeah,
Cool.
I moved some stuff around.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So we have a new guest, Armin. She's in the Glendale, Los Angeles area. We have lots of friends in common. We were talking earlier today. She tried to join us a week ago, and then I couldn't get in touch with her, but today I gave her a call, and boom, here we are. Armin, if you want to unmute, there you are, and
Hi,
give a
good
brief.
evening, everyone.
She has a medical background, and then at some point you woke up and realized, oh, I can't function in that old system. And you want to give us a basic overview of how you got here?
Sounds very familiar, by the way.
Yep.
Hi. So are you, Carly, is your background again Western medicine, or are you working in medical field?
I'm a recovered physical therapist.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Your voice was breaking up.
I'm sorry.
Very-
I'm a recovered physical therapist.
I see. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction, Michael. Yeah, my background is Western medicine. I'm a medical doctor, but I'm practicing acupuncture and herbs here in California. So I had to switch. Although at some point, not in the United States, but in Europe, I was working as an, integrative medicine, acupuncture and Western medicine together at the same time. But here I couldn't. So I completely switched from Western medicine to alternative, to the point that I'm not taking any medications. Everything I treat for myself, I'm talking about myself, of course, for my patients and clients too. I'm always recommending them to change their diet, lifestyle, meditation. For me, it's part of the lifestyle, and of course, herbs and acupuncture and qigong. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I bet Sabta wonders.
Yeah, well, what you mean is real medicine.
Exactly,
Stuff
real
that
medicine.
really,
Yeah.
stuff that really helps healing, right?
True. Exactly. That's
Yeah.
yeah. They have switched the names. I think it's not correct. They have to fix it at some point. Hopefully, our generation will be able to fix it. But if not, hopefully next. Yeah. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we have this conversation about spirituality, which is very important to me. And I think it should be important to everyone, because we are a spiritual being, as they say, experiencing this physical body, right?
Yeah, I think one of the great lessons of this whole COVID chaos is that things are not as they appear from the surface, and we have to look deeper. So if surface appearances are a distraction or often misinformation, then what are we really? What are we really here for? What are we really perceiving? What is this place? So it can get pretty interesting, because we can't rely on the old categories that have been based on superficial characteristics, from Republicans to Democrats to liberals and conservatives, and truth and falsehood, and every previous division, the people you thought were your friends, the people you thought were your family. Surprise! There's surprises everywhere. And the reality, and the reality is
labeled
not
as a
visible.
conspiracy theorist, unfortunately, if you dig deep enough. But then,
so then if the first thing we've learned is that our eyes deceive us, or we can't rely only on visual cues, then everything is open to reinterpretation, and the non-visible becomes far more important. Character becomes more important. Intention becomes more important. And then we can reclassify what we think is happening in terms of, are we biochemical, or are we more actually electromagnetic? And then further, are we not physical at all? Is any of this actual, quote, physical reality at all? So it takes us down a lovely rabbit hole of discovery.
True.
And so
I don't
spirit
know if
becomes more important.
Exactly, yeah. If you have heard about EE system, this expo.
Dr. Sandra is a good friend of mine.
Okay, great. So you know all about it, yeah.
Yep.
So
I've been in her home in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I met her for the first time. I have known about that system for a year or so, because apparently it was not public. Although the politicians, so-called elite, I always say we should change their name, because they're not. It gives them power by calling them elite. They are the real parasites of this earth. So yeah, it was amazing meeting her and get to know more about the system. Yeah, and it does the same thing as acupuncture, but there's no manual. Like, we don't do anything manually. You just have to sit next to that device, and you know all about it. It was amazing, yeah, experiencing all that.
Yep. Orit has a friend, a Russian friend, who has an EE system in her area in Orit, what area of the valley is that?
She's in Westlake Village.
Yep. So Orit has experienced the EE system over there.
Yeah, we got a
And
coupon for 4 treatments for $400. So we are going to get treatment, like, some sessions, probably 2 or 4. We don't know yet. We went there with like 5 friends or 4 friends. No, one of them didn't come. And I think my friend has booked an appointment already. Is it Westlake or it's Newport Beach? I'm not quite sure which location. There are 2 locations.
Yeah, the Newport Beach is not one of my favorites for sure.
Oh, really? We shouldn't go there?
Well, first of all, she's not on Jason's network. And secondly, the chairs are way too hard and they are the mesh type. So because the room has to be kept pretty cool, you get really cold because the cold comes from all directions.
Oh,
The,
yeah.
the
Thank you
owner
for
in
telling me.
Westlake, the owner in Westlake has different chairs. It's not mesh. And she also has amazing blankets that she wraps around you. She really spoils you. It's smaller. She only has 6 seats, if I remember correctly. But I was much more comfortable there than in Newport Beach.
Great. Good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
We might reschedule our appointment or cancel it.
that's extra special, useful insight. Very cool.
Exactly. Yeah. From someone who has experienced it firsthand. I mean, during the expo, you could go to the room, but I had booked so many workshops and, panels that I didn't want to waste my time going there. I said, I'm going to go, check it out later. But I saw the room, people sitting there and stuff, but I didn't myself. I didn't experience it. But the knowledge was amazing. The experience, I mean, everything she shared with us, the research and everything.
You mentioned Sasha Stone earlier. It was on his tour when he came to San Diego and Orange County that I first saw Dr. Sandra, and she really stood out to me. There's some really interesting little specifics about the way she is that I found really charming, and then I was introduced to the owner of the Encore Event Center by my friend Joanne, who then went on tour doing his social media with Sasha, and I took care of her place while she was on the road with Sasha for a month. And I took care of her place in San Diego and her puppies. First time I was ever puppy sitting, and then I brought the Liberties Horizon event to the Encore Event Center in San Diego, and we had 30 speakers, including Dr. Sandra. So I greeted her when she came through the door, and she said, "Oh, I didn't think anybody recognized me with my hair up." And we spent a lot of time together during the course of that event before she went back to Vegas, and then I went and visited her a couple weeks later on the evening that she had recorded the now epic Jason Shurka interview. So it's amazing how all that fitted together and moved rather quickly. And,
yeah, he was there too. He was at the expo. We attended
yeah,
panel with him, Sasha Stone. Yeah, few other people were there.
Yep.
That
So
video came out 8 months ago, so that's what I'm saying. I didn't know about that system until a year ago. Yeah,
it was middle of May. So these things can move very quickly, which is why I'm enthused to get to know you, since you're adminning several groups, and she's already been Armin's been putting out the word about this little call at the very last minute, which is very sweet. So we will have lots more to share very,
Yeah,
very
because
soon.
you know that group that I saw your post. The other admins that have been telling us, let's close it, let's close it. It's more work for us because we have to keep it clean, you know, from viruses, scammers, and things like that. I said, no, I want to keep it open because, you know, people might join, you never know. So that was the only good thing that came out of that group because I saw your, your post. I'm glad we didn't
Funny,
shut it down.
funny. Yeah, that's happened a few times, and you know, it's a weird circumstance. There are millions of us worldwide. There's countless thousands of us. This reason why I'm in San Diego is I was one of the initial producers that led to the creation of an event that had 10, 12,000 people in attendance. And yet, although we've got all these people, we're having very few real powerful, I hate to say top shelf, but leader-ish connections with people that are really consistent and ready to do whatever it takes. And with just a handful of people like that, we can move thousands, we can move millions. We know that's been history. You know, you get one Gandhi and you get millions of people to move. And hello to Gertrude, who is probably on her boat or somewhere around there in the San Pedro area. She travels between San Pedro and San Diego, so between the Los Angeles area and the San Diego area. And she's one of our most beloved, dearest, wisest co-leaders of this little group. And it can sometimes feel like there's just a few of us, but I know that we're that close to having a greater effect. And part of why I wanted to mention the history with Encore Event Center is that I just noticed that there's an event coming up on March 15th, thanks to a win by Amy Reichert's organization. And so that's going to be at the Encore Event Center again, and that's on March 15th. That's my birthday. So I'm going to make a little video message for Amy and say, hey, it's my birthday. What can we work on together? So as I've been telling y'all, we got to get our content together and refined and upgraded. There's an extra little indicator. It looks like I'm going to have my birthday party on March 17th, which is kind of interesting. It's a little paradoxical. My co-host of the party, her birthday is March 12th. Shira Notes is a brilliant singer-songwriter, and she's here in San Diego. And mine's the 15th. But for a variety of reasons, we seem to be having it on the 17th, which, of course, is St. Patrick's Day, which means it's going to be a madhouse. And we're having it at a restaurant and an Irish bar that are next door to each other on Adams Street. And the Irish bar, the Old Sod, is a cute little place. Fortunately, there's a big back room. I don't think we will have, overcrowding problems. It's a small stage, though, for karaoke, and I'm trying to figure out, I think my voice will be okay by then. I've been fighting off a little cold since about last Wednesday, but I've been trying to figure out what I might sing. I'd like to do something that feels a little bit Celtic, because, you've got this bar that's got this real Irish feel to it, and Irish street signs along the wall, and then they're playing some of this horrific modern hip-hoppy music in there, and it just blows the whole image. So at least if we can record on video something that feels Celtic. So if anybody's got ideas for a Celtic song that I could sing, let me know. And besides that, I want to try to tackle singing a song from my buddy's band, my buddy whose band I booked their first downtown weekend gig in Chicago, because his birthday is on March 17th, and his name is Billy Corgan, if you've heard of the Smashing Pumpkins. So I was trying to pick out one or two Smashing Pumpkins tunes to give tribute to Billy on his birthday. So with all that babbling being said, I'm going to go back into this mode of, please, guys, help me refine our wordy ManKinder message and optimize it. So did anybody get a chance? And that anybody would, at this point, just be Satvananda or Orit. Did either of you get a chance to take a look at any of the documents online?
No, sorry. It's been
That's
pretty
okay,
busy.
I understand.
Pretty busy on my side of the world here.
I haven't been as prolific as I wanted to either, so that's totally A-okay. Satvananda, did you, by any lucky chance? I'm sure the answer is no, and that's okay.
The folder I saw, a folder, something like that.
Correct.
That's about as far as I got.
That's okay. I'm going to pull it up on screen here. Going to share screen. Here it is. To take a moment to put on the cough filter there. All right, let's see where's my window. There it is. Is it this button? Is it this button? Okay, hang on. We're almost there. Sometimes it's easier. There it is. Oh, neat. Okay, we've got us along the bottom instead of along the side. Well, that's different. Uh-oh. Computer is freaking out. All right, give me a minute to get this set. Layout. Oh no. Okay, the layout is not.
We are waiting. May I ask a question?
Yes, please, please. Please fill up space.
Tawanda,
Dead air, bad.
Because yeah, I overheard him saying like about this new agey things about ascension and stuff. But there are some people that I personally am following, and I do believe what they're saying. Like Laura Eisenhower and Elena Dene on YouTube. She was a guest on Eisenhower's live event once. By the way, Eisenhower was there too at the expo.
Yes,
I got to take
indeed.
a picture with her too. Yeah. So
Speaking of music, she and I have a favorite musician. We're both big fans of Adrian Belew. But Satvananda, what's your take on Laura? And I didn't quite catch the other name, although I have heard her before.
Elena Tanan, that's her name. She's French, but where does she live? She lives, I'm trying to remember, somewhere else, but she's from France. I think you got disconnected. Oh, but my question was about Alex Collier. If you know him, he's very well known.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him too. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of players right now involved in all of this. And, the internet and this new age kind of movement, for better or for worse, is currently replacing the TV mindset, the old guard. And so you see a lot of the same names, the Kennedys, one of the Kennedys are one of the 13 families in the Illuminati. That is part of that famous book. And, there's a lot of controlled opposition going on. My dear friends, are closely involved with these people, and I've seen a long trajectory. I've been involved in all of this stuff since before it was very popular, and I've kind of remained in the shadows for these kinds of reasons, because I like to analyze how everything is being put together and actually seeing the interpersonal group dynamics or lack thereof, when we're seeing this kind of involvement from the populace now, the public. So as far as your question about these individuals, I try not to express a definitive opinion, only trying to offer these higher levels of awareness, to try to describe the overall situation that we're actually in. One of my most famous papers that I've written so far is about the true origin of humanity. And I've been able to prove that humans have been in their current form on Earth for at least 250 million years. So, is what we've been doing working? And in that question, is it still working? Is it working now? How long can we really expect for all of this type of ascension dynamics to actually take place? See, because if we are all in this perspective that we've been here, oh yeah, humans have been here for 200,000 years, and yet we're still in this lower states of emotional awareness with the fickle interpersonal group dynamics. We can't really seem to get ahead of all of these different global actors for whatever reason. And that really points towards a larger situation. And when we see all of these people who are now involved, so in the previous mindset, it was the CNNs and the NPRs, but now in this new mindset, it's all of these, these conferences and these kind of like ascension conference events. And a lot of these conferences, they're very tightly controlled. They actually will not let you go on these conferences if you're talking about certain topics. So let's actually examine who they let go on there and who actually they let speak and what those people are actually speaking about. Like just some of the names that you mentioned, for instance, are some of the most popular, of course. And all of the most popular people are quite often very, very well connected, especially throughout history. A lot of familiar names are coming up, just like, the Kennedys keep coming up. And, I like the Kennedy example because, okay, the Kennedys, see, the way things on Earth, at least for me, are very different than how they appear. They appear in a certain way, and just like we were talking about before, this notion of free will, ascension paradigm, karma, all of these things are very heavy weighted terms, and they influence us to a great degree. And in that influence, we're being parsed and we're being compartmentalized in that sense. Do you believe in Sasha Stone? Do you believe in Laura Eisenhower? Do you believe in all of these different people? Alex Collier. There's a lot of different of these people, and the Andromedans, the Pleiadians. It's a huge list, and that's why I try to, at least in my own work, I try to identify the hardcore scientific truths without all of the fluff or new age type of hippie influence, because it can be very powerful. It's very powerful, and that's why I like to bring up the time frame of humans, of the human existence, because if it is the case that humans have been here for at least 250 million years, and we're still having these types of same lower emotional awareness issues where we cannot work together, there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of infiltration, that gives me a lot of pause, and gets me to start analyzing more quickly or more carefully some of these big names that you see on these circuits, on these ascension new age conference type circuits. And the reason why I bring up the Kennedys and some of these other big names is because, we all know what happened to JFK. And JFK, from our perspective, he was kind of like, a good guy, right? The Kennedys. But the Kennedy family has still been documented in this 13 Illuminati Bloodlines book from this individual who might have a convoluted background. And then this book was put on the CIA website, so we should take it with a grain of salt anyway. But from our perspective, we think of these people as being good. But as far as what's happening, with the injection, the Robert Kennedy, the JFK, there's seems to be an element of this controlled opposition type of mindset. And so when we're becoming engaged with this type of mindset and these names that were just mentioned, it just makes me very cautious, because this is what exactly that has been happening for the last 100 million years. Everything is wrapped up so nicely for us that we immediately want to engage with it because of these savior complexes, or trying to have like a better world, or a better life. So it's very appealing in that sense. But again, my friends who I've watched from the sidelines become indoctrinated into these mindsets, I've seen their whole trajectory going. Now they consider themselves part of this high command of like Pleiadian councils and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just sounds very unusual to me, and that's why I try to centralize, at least on the hardcore documentation. The decentralization is very important. Trying to get away from some of these big names that we see a lot of different people signing up for, engaging with. And yeah, they might be saying a lot of good stuff, but they're also highly connected and curated, just like I was saying about these conferences. Like, they won't just let anybody go into these conferences. I mean, there's definitely an agenda, a very pointed agenda, and it helps facilitate what I call the corporeal alien agenda. Are aliens non-corporeal, or are they corporeal? There are secret documents that indicate both mindsets, but which mindset is the true mindset? We say we spend a lot of time talking about aliens, but how do we know that they're not from Earth? All of these different aliens seem to represent species from Earth, fish, mantis, the bird people, all of these aliens, quote unquote, could very well be from our Earth, but they're explaining to us that they're from the Orion system or the Pleiades or whatever. And again, we have no way to verify any of this stuff. And that's why I try to spend so much time on the verification and really asking these questions that are perhaps a little uncomfortable, because humans do really want to be liberated. And yet we're still here after so long. And that's why I kind of have this decentralized approach. And I'm always questioning all of these big super players who are very popular and very well funded. You got your document, Michael?
Yes. Can you see it on screen?
Yep.
And before we go to that, just if there's a quick answer for this, is there any particular content or direction that you think is being most strategically excluded from these conferences?
Well, it's a very tough subject because I try not to step on anybody's toes, but this centralization of mindsets for me is, the ascension mindset, the bifurcation of the time field, these big things that we see everybody talking about. That's the kind of stuff that makes me want to analyze to a deeper degree, because there are these topics that are excluded. For instance, like the possession mindset, or the walk-in mindset, or these channeling mindsets, or the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians is really hot right now, and the Ashtar. So what are the opposite of those ideas? I guess I would just ask or pose that question for anyone who's heavily invested in these types of mindsets.
Gotcha. Well, more on that to be explored at another time. So, this is one of the documents. This is the #1 document. If we look in the folder, I started numbering them. ManKinder Vision #1 document. And I made a little screenshot of it, which is all that one of these is. This one is the document. You can see looks like a document link. And then this is just a screenshot of the same document. So now if we go to the document, this is it. And it's referring to content that I copied into the document from the ManKinder sort of a website, which is really just a About Me page, and the mailing list sign up page. So, one thing that occurred to me is that colloquially, I will say ManKinder's goal is to create a kinder world for mankind. But I don't think I ever published that particular phrase anywhere. So the big questions are, how can we best apply our resources to be of greatest service to our world's needs? What messaging feels strongest for you? And what ManKinder messaging would you edit or put on hold? Here I just briefly mentioned the history and the current plan. Current plan is to formalize an advisory board and board of directors intending to build marketing and management strategies to expand the efficacy of our mission. So what is our mission? These are likely apropos top priorities. 1, refine the messaging, as we see at the pseudo website and the mailing list sign up. Then it'd be nice to establish guiding principles, kind of like a 10 Commandments or Georgia Guidestones, but mankind's Guidestones. After all, those ones in Georgia got torn down anyway. You need new ones. Compile congruent organizations' agendas. You know, what other affiliate organizations do we admire and would like to support and help them expand? Because I don't know what you guys think, but most of the truthers organizations I see tend to grow by word of mouth, not by marketing or strategy. So then how could we pull them all together and build coordinated media and marketing to maximize results for these affiliated organizations? Then what we were talking about in our last episode, build and expand local and intentional communities, for example, through Freedom Cells. Produce prolific media, music, and events to supplant the mainstream. Distribute promo materials and branded merchandise to expand the visibility and support of ManKinder principles. Going back to what are the ManKinder principles? For example, postcard and business card campaigns, clothing, hang tags and keychains, business and automobile window stickers, etc. I've got a little link to these links to these that I showed last time. The postcard that on one side says confused, and the other side says you're not alone. And ultimately, well, it's still one step along the journey, but we would like to establish our first Southern California community venue, which would house daily and seasonal events, education, media production, and distribution. And then we'll just keep going out from there. So here's the SendFox and ManKinder.net text. I put it in this document. That's enough babbling from me for a moment. Any reactions, folks?
I'm going to have to really sit down and read it. I'm not a very good auditory learner.
Ditto. I feel you.
Much better with reading.
Anyone else? Satvananda?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Since Satvananda's here, I'd love to hear just your intuitive read on what your feeling is that we could, should, will be doing to best apply ourselves as a team, as a little seed of something big.
Alrighty. Let's see. In terms of this document, you're asking me?
Sure, or in general, if the document's not working for you. I'm not fixed.
Well, you know, I live my life in a very particular way, and I teach my students and clients this same way. And there's a level of decentralization, and also where we give our money to is very, very important, because the whole machine apparatus functions from a moment to moment basis through this money type of funnel system. So that's why I try my best, my absolute best, to never purchase any plastic products, first and foremost, because the plastic affects our endocrine system and can cause feminization, masculinization for women, as well as depression and anxiety and listlessness, low libido. And not only that, but it destroys our environment. And so I also only spend my money at farmers markets. I buy very little packaged products from the grocery store. I make everything from scratch, even things like mayonnaise. I try to buy as little as possible from grocery stores, because all of that uh, financial power goes towards the machine and all of the stuff that nobody likes, the pollution, the prison system, poverty in general, the war machine. So pretty much those are the biggest things that I try to encourage everybody to participate in. And there is a level of, decentralized um, goals, I guess you could say, that will not only serve us, they'll serve us on an individual level, but also on a collective level. And then number 3 and number 4, I would always recommend to my clients, especially for anybody who's trying to have a new baby. We want to alter the nature of our decision making and begin to create these sustainable businesses that can help us to become more free and independent. And it doesn't have to be anything super involved, but if we don't have a steady income stream, like for instance, I do my consulting, I'm an environmental consultant with an ecology background, animal husbandry. That's kind of like my regular day job. And then I have my jewelry making products to prevent EMF poisoning. And then those things allow me to do my pro bono or my charity type of work, like this meeting that we're having tonight, or I provide yoga to the homeless, all kinds of different stuff. But without that concrete aspect to my life, making money to help me do the other stuff, it's going to be really hard, I find, for other people to be able to accomplish their goals. So it's kind of hard, because this is normally something I go into with my clients, when I'm creating a life plan for them. But we need kind of a nuts and bolts way to make our own money, um, you know, in a positive way that doesn't just give the money back into the machine, because then that erodes kind of our own goals. So there has to be some kind of concrete means to do that. And I find that it's okay if you have a normal corporate job, but I always recommend or encourage my clients to use that time to set up your alternative income stream, so that you can participate in these communities like Michael has created and these different documents. And it's an important aspect to how everything works, because that's what gives us the time to be able to do these other things, these other extracurricular activities, or to learn about how to heal ourselves, or how to cure cancer, and all these different objectives that people have. So those probably, I would say, at least for me, those are the 3 or 4 top big ones.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. And thanks to Gertrude for the compliment that those are some well organized and achievable goals. Well, cool. It's still daunting to me, but I feel that we can be on the right track. And addressing Satvananda's very practical perspective, I took a quick look at this top priorities list. And from my perspective, 3 through 8 all look like practical stuff, practical endeavors in the sense of by affiliating with businesses and organizations and associations, subtle distinctions there. I recently came to understand the distinction between an organization and an association. So that was interesting. But by affiliating with the right ones that would play well together, if we even just look at what's the business model of some of the world's biggest companies like Amazon, they're not creating product, they're a middleman. So there's success to be had by being an intermediary. There's success to be had by being just an advertising agency if we were to focus on just that. We're still in the process of validating a whole bunch of processes where, as Orit and I have been taking a look at, still questioning the 508c1a process, which to some extent I was taking for granted and needs to be re-examined. So what we present needs to be of impeccable integrity. Are there particular directions or organizations or products besides your own, of course, which we certainly support, Satvananda, that you think we should focus on affiliation with? And did I interpret what you were suggesting appropriately enough?
Yeah, I mean, if it depends on what our goal is, I suppose. Are we creating like a corporate framework for this intentional community, And then if the answer is yes, then okay, what is our approach? What is our main source of income in this corporate framework? And like the 501, like what the ministry, I think that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ironically, you're using that word incorporated, which is a challenging term, especially when we're focusing more on being an unincorporated association than a corporation. But
yes,
I see where you're going.
Well, for me, at least, how I formulate my businesses, just like I was saying earlier, there's a corporate aspect to it, and then there's like a foundation aspect. So it's kind of like the two sides of the same coin. You have your corporate framework in which you're paying taxes on profits, and then you're offsetting those taxes and those liabilities with pro bono charities. And so you have kind of like a reflection of your life, but on a corporate style framework. And that's why I try to really because a lot of these alternative funding apparatus, with our strongman account and all this stuff. I mean, we could be going down this rabbit hole forever, but really there are these simple ways to get the ball rolling right here and now with a legitimate business, in even as a sole proprietor, if necessary, or like a C corporation. We could all sign up right now and open a corporation together, and then open that foundation as the shadow of the corporation, and we could start doing business right here and now and not need all of this other stuff that we've always heard about, people possibly doing somewhere at some time, because at least my perspective is, what can we be doing now, right here and now, to facilitate our hopes and our dreams, rather than getting trapped in these types of rabbit holes. That's another thing that I teach in my clients, what I call the vortex of awareness. People have been studying the JFK assassination for 50 years and they haven't gotten anywhere. And this is a large part of what happens to kind of put our consciousness on the back burner by all of these yellow brick roads that I mean, there's so many of them, but that's why I always try to bring myself and my colleagues, my friends and my family and loved ones back down to earth, finding what we can be doing right now, even if it's just selling toilet paper online, or selling anything at the farmer's market. I mean, we could all start making microgreens right now or something, anything, and then that could foster like this corporate framework, and then we could open the foundation as the shadow of that entity, and then that's how we mitigate our tax liability, and then that's how we're also contributing back to society. So if we're talking about taking all of the bright minds that we have in the ManKinder type of framework, and then is the goal, is that the goal, I guess, is my question, because we could, rather than finding these other businesses to facilitate their businesses, well, why not we just make our own business? Just like what Michael is saying, he has a marketing background, I have a science background, or he has her shamanic background, the other lady has a medical background. We have a lot of resources and a lot of professionalism already right now. All we need is a simple framework in order to start facilitating our hopes and our dreams and our goals in a concrete way right this very instant. That's kind of how I approach life. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Very true.
Thank you.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but I just wanted to add something to what you stated. It's real. We have to try to live on Earth because we are here at the moment, here now. But it's really hard for some people that are just starting to wake up, when you're just telling them you can grow, like, I don't know, a little bit of peppermint on your porch or in your apartment. They're saying, no, it's not possible. But then when you insist and they try, they're all amazed. Oh my God, I can. Because I live in an apartment. I don't have a big house or anything, but I'm trying to even if I can grow some scallions in a small pot, and when I'm sick and I don't want to go out, to buy scallions to make a soup, I'm just using that, and it has saved my life so many times. When I've taught that to my friends or my clients, my patients, they're all amazed by that. What I wanted to add to what you said, this is a great, amazing plan, but we all can't do everything all the time. I salute you for making mayonnaise. I've tried a couple of times; it didn't turn out good, so I stopped. but I think when we are trying to do something grassroots, right? We have to always prioritize. I always emphasize to everyone, please keep using cash, because of the digital money that they're going to start. Hopefully not. We are postponing it, and the more we try harder and the more we postpone it, it's going to be better for everyone. We are going to get more people, on our side to fight or to join our fights. But the other thing that I'm always telling people, do not always support small, like family-owned businesses or groups or anything. Amazon, I'm not purchasing anything on Amazon. I haven't purchased anything on Amazon for over, 10 years. Because when I woke up, I think it was about 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And I'm encouraging everyone because it's easy for them. I sometimes pay more, but I buy it from somewhere else, but not Amazon. That's what we have to encourage people to use. Like, go buy it directly from the company, not from a third company, like, a huge company that they're all trying to get rid of us. They're all trying to kill us. Why would I support them with my money or, with my dollars? So it's great advice. I salute you for making your own madness.
I have another angle or way that I look at this. Although I agree with a general framework that you presented, Satvananda, but I will not, I'm not going to say never ever, but I will not participate in an organization or association that plays into the system. So that is why I dedicate my time to learn about exiting the matrix, getting out of the system with Michael, and we exchange a lot. I don't want to see us doing it the way that you suggested, like taxes and all that. No more of that. Just no more of that. And maybe it's because I'm older and I've been around a few times, and I just don't want to participate in that anymore. So I don't want to create another organization that complies with all those unlawful ways that we've been living for God knows how long. I want to be free of that.
Yeah, I hear you. And Satvananda, dude, let's not gang up on the man. I love you, brother. ManKinder, not Kinder. And can we stop talking about corporations unless we figure out a better way of understanding corporation than I've been understanding corporations? But anyway, real quick shout out of appreciation to Stephen and Marley, who are observing. It's their first time watching one of my webcasts, although Stephen has been a close collaborator since 2004. Stephen and Marley are in the Sylmar area, and Stephen is endeavoring to start a very adventurous project, which is wildlife rescue, in which he would be the intermediary organization assisting organizations that care for animals, as he has a great love for that, and recently had an experience with, believe it or not, an opossum that completely transformed his life. And sadly, Joey, his beloved opossum, passed away 5 years earlier than expected, and Stephen's pretty broken up about that, but wants to focus into the direction that he found himself going, which was wildlife rescue. So that may become a ManKinder sub-project, since our fellow animals in this world are part of our entire matrix of life. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But first, Gertrude, thank you so much, dear heart, for typing in living in the here and now. I'm going to read it from this, where it came from. Okay, over here. Living in the Here and Now, you sent an email regarding PMA assistance to Mike Colum, spelled a little bit different than that. It's COLOMB, no E. But on the other hand, there is an architect willing to walk you through permitting a home, and you're following the path of least resistance. And I expect to be talking to Mike Colum probably tomorrow. In fact, I just texted him to find out if we are going to have our conversation tomorrow or another day. So we're all moving forward on that, as the PMA topic is still very relevant. And even the fellows who were on Beth Martin's show, as you know, it was so funny to hear him say, I'm not trying to say my way or the highway. Yeah, well, it's interesting that even occurred to him, because that was exactly the vibe I was getting. It was like, it was that same routine again of, no, you other guys are doing PMAs wrong. We have the right way of doing a PMA.
I
and
totally
I'm like,
agree.
can we,
Yes.
oh my God,
Yes.
can we stop this?
I do agree. But for some reason, I don't know if it's intuitively or what, for some reason, it seems to me that they have done their homework.
Well, they're citing specific
IRS.
they're citing specific IRS documentation,
Exactly.
which they are saying indicates that there ain't no such thing as a 508.
Exactly.
When you file as a 508, quote unquote, you're actually filing as a 501c3. And if you didn't, probably, and it would make sense if this is true, if you didn't do it right, then you are neither a 508 nor a 501c3. You just think you filled out the wrong paperwork. Now, as they pointed out, you may have an EIN, which I do. You may have some paperwork, which I do. But was it done right? I don't know. So I'm going to throw that at Mike Colum and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yes,
without any judgment, and see where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, what another thing that I actually liked about Babyface, what's his name, Brandon, is that you don't pay for doing a PMA. You pay a membership, and then he's available for you to do all of this. That for some reason speaks to me.
That's probably a lot more reasonable. Did you catch what the numbers are for membership?
It's close to 2,000, a little less.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's the same numbers anyway.
Yeah, but he has a few levels of membership too. So the least expensive one includes only part of it. So you can either start low and build up, or but it's just a different structure that's I don't know. It's intuition. It's all intuition, nothing more. But I keep listening to them, and they make more and more sense as I listen more and more. Like what I sent you today.
Right. Well, that's a pretty expensive membership, given that, for instance, if you're on the right track and you're congruent, your membership in House of Free Will can be free. So, I think membership in the free to $10 to $20 a month, there should be that level of membership in a PMA associate, in a PMA, but I don't know.
Well,
Everything's different.
There is that level of something similar to that in his membership, but it doesn't include everything.
Okay, gotcha. Right.
Everyone has to survive somehow, like Satyananda says. He functions in the normal world, which we don't really want to support that much, because we have to feed ourselves. We all want to have a roof above our head and all those things. So, so that's how I look at it.
And the level of documentation that a David Edwards style PMA involves, if it's all legit, that takes a lot of work.
Yes.
And that looks like a $2,000 project to me. I get that.
Yeah.
At any rate, back to Satvananda, I would love for you to brainstorm a little bit, talk with me directly or whatever. Any ideas that you have of an apropos, get our feet wet, start something without too much complexity and without too many, making it more complicated than it needs to be, a business that we could do together as a ManKinder business. I would love to hear your suggestions.
All right, I'll try to spend some time doing that for you.
We'll make it worthwhile.
I'm sorry, if time allows, I wanted to thank Satavanda for
Please.
his, information that he shared about controlled opposition and things like that. Before you all guys joined, we were talking about it. I am very disappointed because I recently found out someone that I've been following, apparently, according to that person, they are controlled opposition. I want to ask this question because I'm trying to find an answer for it. What is the point of controlled opposition? To keep us in the matrix, to not find the truth, or what is it in your opinion? Or whoever can answer. And one more thing, if anyone is from LA area and is into the gardening or would like to start a farm, please let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, briefly on the garden topic, while Chris Toussaint is still in LA, if we can do ManKinder sponsored gardening get together, it would be a really nice send off before he moves out of town. So
Sure.
let's get some LA folks together and brainstorm that up. And you seem to be just the right person to help us make that happen. And to answer Gertrude, yes, they did say that an LLC and PMA combo is the right way to go, which I didn't expect to hear that also, because we've been hearing thumbs down on LLCs. So what do I know? I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. But back to your first question regarding controlled opposition. Satvananda, I'd love to hear your perspective. Why why does the opposition control? I'll just put it that way, very loosely spoken.
All right, I'll do my best. Well, the question is why does controlled opposition exist? And if we examine the trajectory of the narrative of humanity, right, what we believe is human history, it's actually more curated than organic. World War I, World War II, the information World War III, all of these things, famines, pandemics, all of these things are much more curated than many of us might realize. The entire narrative of human history, what we think of as our own narrative, as being humans, Homo sapiens, what have you, all of that goes into how we perceive ourselves, what we think is possible, what we think is impossible. And therefore, ideas like controlled opposition are, again, facilitating this way in which we think of ourselves. So just like my example that I used with the JFK, the Kennedys are one of the most richest families on earth. And yet John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy and all these guys that we know, they seem to be functioning in a totally antithetical way to all of the other richest families on earth. So why? Why would they be doing that? Do they really care about us that much? Or are they facilitating a greater agenda, a bigger narrative that we have a hard time perceiving due to our limited state of awareness? When we perceive or receive controlled opposition in all of the new age type of mindsets that are available on the DoD constructed internet, on the FBI, NSA, OIS constructed internet, what is the actual rendition? What is the goal? Or what are the system of goals taking place? Just like with the Kennedy family, or this ascension type of paradigm, right? When we are presented with lies, in many cases, those lies are based off of truth. That's why they're so inviting or so effective, because humans, like especially like people like us, we have a great desire for truth and love, compassion, development, evolution, adaptation. And so humans are very good at um, reasoning why something might be happening. And this is getting into how humans have been able to be controlled for over 1 million years. We're not just fighting this battle right now against the technocrats. Humans have experienced this top-down hegemonic tyranny, feudalism, for over 1 million years. I mean, even since Mesopotamia, even since before Mesopotamia, like the Indus Valley civilization. And we see the same type of mentality and control structure throughout the ages. Like I don't know if anybody is familiar with these other words like the demiurge or the AI signal or the devil. um, you know there seems to be this disembodied non-corporeal element that facilitates the control structure, um, because humans, you know we're getting into a complexity here again, but humans do, each human body produces 100 watts of energy. Why do we see the same city structures over and over and over? Indus Valley civilization, the Mesopotamia in New York, London. Why do we see the same control grid locked into a grounded network? The cathedrals, sports centers where humans are congregating, producing this high level of emotional current, emotional energy that is then harvested and shunted in the motherboard of the cityscape. When we change the context, or when we're coming to terms with a greater level of awareness, a greater context for our human experience taking place on Earth for over perhaps 1 million years, then we're starting to see the true kind of processes in the narrative of humanity. And one of those processes, just like the gentle lady mentioned, is the controlled opposition. And the controlled opposition, kind of like a ping pong ball, or like two ping pong players, they're keeping the ball in play, they're keeping the narrative in play. And while the narrative is in play, humans don't have a perception of this greater level of awareness, or the greater level of the feudalistic experience that humans seem to be obsessed with. We can't get, at least not that I know of, we have not experienced life outside of this tyrannical type of framework. And the controlled opposition is all a part of that framework. Just when we think we're exiting the matrix or the system, we created communism, and then, oh, we need socialism. Oh, now we need capitalism. We're going back and forth between these two thought forms. And it's all, no matter what your opinion of all of these things are, they're communism, socialism, capitalism, democratic socialism. All of these isms or thought forms are attempts for humans to get rid of this feudalism type of experience. And so humans have been doing it for so long, and yet now we're in a feudalistic experience again, precisely because of this controlled opposition type of mindset. So that's why, I spend a lot of time listening to all these people, even though I don't agree with them, like some of the big names that you've mentioned before, that who are participating or being participated with in these new age type of mindsets, because when they're talking to us and when they're telling us what they want us to know, they're conveniently leaving a lot of stuff out, like the stuff that I always talk about, how humans have been here for so long. If humans have really been here for that long, it would make a lot more people analyze more closely what we're giving our allegiance to. Because if things like God or Jesus or Yeshua or Muhammad or Buddha, if those things were working, then we wouldn't be here, right? But we've been doing this for so many millions of years, and yet we're still in this feudalistic mindset. That means all of the things that we're freely choosing of our own volition are not working. Why? Why? That's the big question. One of the answers is because of the controlled opposition, or the controlled opposition itself is a dynamic of the narrative of humanity that we perceive as being this or that, real or fake, contrived or organic. And I find that because humans are so good at justifying things, we for whatever reason do not perceive this greater experience, and that I find to be a really big problem. That's why I write all my papers explaining why and how the psychological propaganda is so effective, explaining how and why the compartmentalization of thoughts, hearts, and minds is so effective. Why do they do it? Why is it so critical to have this type of thing, and especially just like the gentle lady said about, I think she got sad when she figured out someone was a controlled opposition. Don't get sad. These people, a lot of the times, they are not even really aware that they are controlled opposition. They do not even perceive themselves being ran as an asset. All of these people, for the most part, are just doing their best, and for whatever reason they do not perceive themselves being ran as an asset. They think what they're presenting is the best and most authentic, self that they can provide. But it's not until we start talking about this greater context that these types of people will be like, huh, wow, well, maybe I was being ran as an unconscious AI slave. Or something, like that. Insert your own terminologies, feel free. But yeah, the nuts and bolts of the psychology of these things is the most important to come to terms with. And that's why, for anyone interested, go ahead and check out a lot of my papers on my website, sophanata.org, because I go into just, painful detail about how all of the psychology works, and I feel that that's important, because once we come to terms with all this stuff, then we can identify why controlled opposition is so important, why the narrative of humanity is so important, why the story of the United States, as it's being presented to us in the different presidents, JFK, Eisenhower, Obama, Bush Jr., Bush Sr., the Queen of England, all of this stuff. Why is it actually being presented to us? Why do we even know about it in the first place? And in many cases, it's to manipulate the way that we think about ourselves and each other. So yeah, the compartmentalization of knowledge and thought forms is another big part of this controlled opposition, because the stuff that they do say, especially this savior complex type of mentality, it seems very appealing to us, and humans have this need, you know, in my opinion, because of genetic manipulation. In ancient times, humans have this kind of overwhelming need for this savior complex, or things like heaven, or you know, these type of faith-based complexes. I believe humans are hardwired, genetically modified and manipulated in the ancient times to depend on these thought forms. And that's why we constantly see this barrage of these savior complexes. Okay, is it Jesus? Is it Buddha? Is it Muhammad? Is it the blue avians? Is it the Ashtar command? Are they angels? Are they demons? Is it Satan? I mean, we have all of these placeholders, and they're all fake as far as I can tell. The only people who are not fake are us. The only people who are in a body are us. All of these people, or all of these entities, all of these Ashtar commands and Pleiadians and whatever, they, for whatever reason, cannot enter into a body. Only certain people can actually come into a body. And I go over this in my private sessions more in my class called Secrets of the Universe. But this is kind of pointing towards the true reason of the human experience. And one of those, you know, dynamics, just like the gentle lady is asking about, is the controlled opposition. So thank you, everybody, once again.
Thank you.
A far more detailed explanation, and far more lush and beautiful and helpful than I think was probably expected.
Yeah, I just don't want to disagree with you. I completely agree with you, and I have been aware of the controlled opposition for many, many years. But the people that I'm referring to, and I recently found out that apparently, I'm not saying they are, I haven't, I'm trying, I'm still searching, but they are completely, like, you know, they are, they say, you know, as if they act as if they are our voice. And they are doing what, you know, like I'm going to refer to Bobby Kennedy, or I'm just going to refer to Corbett's report, James Corbett from Corbett's report. He's been saying for many, many years, or, you know, Ron Powell from, you know, regarding the Federal Reserve, that there's no reserve. All that, I'm just saying, I am having a hard time believing that James Corbett is a controlled opposition. And as you stated beautifully, he might not even know about it, but he is my voice out there because he has stated, as you said, because I come from a genocide. Like, my ancestors were killed during the Armenian genocide in 1915, and I know it for fact that it was, you know, and it was the same thing happened to the Second World War, or every single war that has ever happened on this planet Earth was, you know, supported and financed by the bankers. We know that. I mean, I know that they have some controlled opposition, but I always have thought those are behind the curtains. They are not visible to us. But now I'm finding out that the people that I have believed in and I have followed them for years, they are being called, or, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure about that yet. I'm trying to figure out whether they are really controlled oppositions as well or not. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for detailed explanation. You said it beautifully. And I believe so too. Probably they don't even know. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and try not to get too bogged down, you know, because you have, I can tell from just speaking with you, you have a very powerful mind. So you got to be careful with how you feel. That's very, very important. It's more important to transcend this than become fixated. That's what the vortex of the awareness, what I call the vortex of awareness, that's the whole point, you know, is transfixing our awareness and then leaving us stuck in this mindset, so that we're just going down a rabbit hole rather than manifestation. or, changing the world, or that's what I always try to teach my clients. It's more important to just keep moving and transcending rather than going back or looking for a rabbit hole or this type of idea, because then, I mean, before you know it, it'll be 20 years that have passed or something like that. So I'm glad. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and, as I said, for your explanation. It was great. I appreciate it. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being here. Thank you.
And we're equally delighted to have you here with us, dear.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Yes, so we're grateful to have another, what sounds like or feels like a very, what's the word I want to use? Elevated mind. Evolved and elevated mind. Yes.
Thank you very much for the kind words.
And eventually, maybe Armin will get cozy enough with us that she'll put her face on camera, but whatever works.
Yeah, I'm hard. That's my problem. You know what? I am taping my laptop or whatever I purchase. I tape the camera.
Oh, well, that's just like what Orit's doing. See that lovely pastiche of I don't know if it's a pastiche. I don't know. It's like a lovely gradient of gray and purple. It's very artistic. That's just a piece of tape. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's like stickers, 2 children's stickers on my camera.
It's working very well.
If I join the meetings using my cell phone one day, I might show my face. I don't know. I'll think about it.
Orit usually does share her lovely face with us.
Yeah. When I'm on my, so I do it exactly the opposite. My laptop, it's blocked, the camera, but when I come on these calls, I open it up. So, but my cell phone, I never take selfies. That's it.
Woof woof.
Yeah,
all right. Do we have any?
He owns the street, right? The dog
Of
owns
course.
the street.
Of course. Do we have any more particular topics anyone wants to cover? Anything going on? This is usually our Monday support group. Is there any feelings that need support?
The petitions, that we are signing. I don't know what you guys think about it. I mean, we have. No, Michael, no. That was a no.
I have a general feeling that petitions are not usually effective.
No, but the bills that they were trying to pass, we were very successful in,
Okay.
killing some of them. 5 of them didn't pass.
True. Yeah. That's why I try to be unbiased about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the petitions. It was more lawsuits. They were sued.
No, I'm referring to the bills. That's true. That's very true. Yeah, as well. But I'm referring to the bills where they were trying to introduce in regards to the COVID vaccines and other medical interventions that they were trying to take the rights of the parents away. And there are a couple of them that I personally I was very involved to the point that I was taking off from my work and spending time explaining people or telling them how to go ahead and just oppose right online that we don't want that bill to pass. One of them is on hold. One of them, that is affecting me personally as a healthcare worker, but that one passed, unfortunately, that we are not allowed to speak anything against the government or whatever would oppose the government's opinion in regards to the vaccines. And if we do, first time we will be fine, second time we might lose our licenses, and we are still fighting for that. That's what I'm saying. Some of them we were very successful in not letting them pass or become a bill, and even that one we are they're appealing. There are two groups of attorneys that they're fighting for us. I'm really having a hard time. I'm a very gullible person, let's put it that way, but I have learned to do my own research and to see who I can trust. But I do really trust these people, and there are so many like them that I do trust, and I try to collaborate and work with. So that's what I mean. I mean, I'm not talking about the petitions on change.com or things like that. I'm talking about these small groups that they're trying to do a huge, work. And they're really, in my opinion, they're very honest and they're like us. I don't know. I might be wrong. I hope I won't be disappointed one day. I'm hoping.
I hope so too, but the most of the stuff that you're talking about went to court with ICANN, with Siri. He's suing them for stuff like this. Now I'm like you. I don't have an opinion about is Del Bigtree control opposition or not, but I think he's doing good work. I think he's helping people to wake up. So at this point, I don't mind if he's control opposition or not, as long as he's effective in what he's doing. As long as more people are waking up thanks to what he puts out.
Exactly, yeah. Or like Judy Mikovich.
Yeah, no,
I would never believe if anyone would tell me that she's a controlled opposition.
Yeah, but I also don't think, because again, there's this debate about viruses. Do they even exist? And these people are not willing to sit around a table to discuss this with those who say that there is no such thing as viruses. So
I myself don't believe that they exist.
You don't believe that they exist? I don't either.
No, it's not about believing. They don't, because it hasn't been proven. Dr. Lemkin from Germany, he's been saying that since, I don't know, 2000, so 22 years, and he was taken to the court. And if you want to do more research, or probably about him, so that's what I share his opinion. So
but then where is Judy Mikovits? She's promoting viruses like the plague. She totally believes in viruses. So
also, I'm going to send an article to both of you. I'm not sure if Orit, you got to look at it yet, but I'm not too sure. So it's worth another look.
Okay.
Orit is your name, right? I hope I'm not pronouncing your name.
No, you're pronouncing it right. Yes.
Some scientists, because I come from a Western medical background, some of them, it's really hard to think differently once you go through the schooling. It's really hard. I'm just saying from my own experience. And Judy Mikovich doesn't know. I don't think she knows anything about the alternative medicine the way that I do, like Eastern medicine, herbs, or I don't think she has been, she has gone studied really deeply to know what I know. I don't think she does. So
I don't think so either.
In viruses, because we always have different opinions. It doesn't necessarily mean that she doesn't mean well. Or
I agree. 100% agree with you. I just stopped following her because I don't agree with a lot of the things that she's saying. Not because I think that she's evil or something. No. It's also a little difficult to follow her when she speaks.
True. But I love her.
She's awesome. I gave her a hug in 2 events that were there. Yeah.
Were you at this expo in LA? Are you from LA by any chance?
No, I'm in the area. Yes, I was not at the expo. I was not, because I was teaching a shamanic workshop, so I couldn't be there.
Oh, there were some shamans. I met them personally.
Yeah, but I was teaching my group, so I wasn't.
You were downstairs, right? in the like lobby area, correct?
No, I was not there because I was.
Oh, you were not
teaching-
there at all. Okay, I'm
No.
sorry.
Yeah, I was teaching at my venue, which is my home.
Because it was a huge event, and yes, I did give her a hug too, and I took a picture with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, these are, whether they are control position or not, most of them are good people who are really trying to help. That's my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I think too.
Yeah.
Well, all right, folks. Let's wrap it up for now. We're here every Monday and Thursday currently at 5 p.m. California time. And we are building up toward my whopping, this is frightening, I'm going to say it anyway, my 60th birthday, March 15th, 2023, in just several days. And I always feel a spring forward around this time, and
Yes.
would like to help our ManKinder mission spring forward around this time. So I am open to any and all suggestions, because this is all designed to be collaborative.
Awesome.
It's not about me.
And you know what the Chinese say about age 60, right?
No. What do they say?
That's when life begins.
Oh, good. Well, that's how I'm feeling. I
Well,
feel like I'm just getting started, and I'm starting over.
I'm few years ahead of you, and I kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, did that work for you?
Yeah, well, 40 was a huge step for me, but yeah, 62. Yeah.
They call it second spring, Michael.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right.
Yep. Yep.
Send me a document that says that. I would love to see that.
Okay.
I need proof. I need
I see
proof.
if I can find one. Yes, I will. Or it will.
'Cause I
Yeah,
haven't
I don't
even
know
designed I haven't designed the birthday party invite yet, and I've partly been waiting to see what we all came up with together. Sometimes I have to just give up and do it myself,
Yeah.
and sometimes waiting for collaboration is indeed not worth the time waiting and nudging. But you guys are so brilliant. I know we're going to come up with something, and I don't care when it comes, but putting it out there.
Timing is always perfect.
Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. And next, I'm going to get on to the wildlife rescue project with Stephen.
Where is he
So
located,
Stephen,
Michael? Where is he
Stephen
located?
and Marley are in Silmar.
Oh, not too far. Okay, like it.
Indeed.
Yep.
Indeed. Stephen texted. What did he text me? He said, "Thank you, Michael, for mentioning the Wildlife Animal Network project." Yeah, the next thing we're doing is figuring out branding for it. What are we going to call this? So I love that process. I go through my favorite source in the world. I've always said my favorite book was Roget's Thesaurus. I had a 1952 red and black with gold type bound copy of Roget's Thesaurus. It was my favorite book for a lifetime. So I love finding just the right word. Now I just use the internet. It's probably giving me less options, and then I search through certain services to see what's available on different social media platforms and website registration services. And actually started doing that also with Gertrude, because her venture has been known as Misty Mountain Farm. And I said, well, first thing I think of is Led Zeppelin. And, you know, some people say that Led Zeppelin was satanic. she had not even heard that. So, so we're
Unfortunately,
being very
most of the industry is,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Most recorded music in this era for decades has been at least a little, you know, at least a little bit of the content is a little dodgy. So that's how you know it's a pattern. As Satvananda was pointing out, it's all controlled and it's all opposing you. So that would make all this stuff we see that's from official sources controlled opposition, right? By definition. All right. That's enough of me babbling. That's a wrap. Thank you all for joining. Love and blessings.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
everyone. Have a
Michael,
blessed evening.
Satyananda. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you, Michael.
Until we meet again.
See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.